Hey guys, Murph here for another NASCAR Heat 5 setup video. This time we're taking on probably one of my favourite NASCAR tracks, aptly named the Paperclip, aka Martinsville. It's a track I really enjoy. Drives a bit like a road course with heavy braking zones and tight hairpins. It's all about keeping mid-corner speed and rotating the car here. Anyway, we've got my usual format showing a qualifying run, a qualifying setup. I'm actually going to throw in a bit of a line guide as well, just where my braking points are and a couple of different options in terms of lines you can take around here. And then we'll finish off with a little bit of race footage and then the race setup itself. Now, time for the quali run itself. Now, I'll go into much more minute detail in terms of braking points and line later on in the video. But for quali, this is showing kind of the lines you need to take for a quali run. Kind of want to late apex the corner, starting a lap, and then once you're on your lap, you want to hug the curb the whole way around the turns. I don't do a very good job of that in 1 and 2. I miss that, and then in 3 and 4 I'll clip the curb right there. The car will step out, get a bit of oversteer, and I'll cost myself some time. I reckon I lost a tenth, maybe a tenth and a half that lap. Still good enough for pole, still good enough for 19.208 to beat the AI by 3/10 of a second. It could have been 4/10 of a second if I nailed the lap. Now, as for the quality setup, it is set up a fair bit looser, quite a bit looser than the race setup, just to get the car to rotate, and as you're not having to worry about burning off the rear tyres. So bear in mind, do not load this for the race. I repeat, do not load this for the race. You will be going backwards after about 5 laps if you try and race with this setup. It's just too loose to race. Cool, so we'll head out on track and I'll show you a couple of different techniques, different lines you can take, and also show you the brake markers. Now we'll start off with the brake markers. We'll get round to the front straight because that's probably the fairest representation. One of the biggest challenges to this track is looking after the rear tyres, but I'll go that into more detail in a minute. So we're going to hit, as you're heading off into turn 1, you go and shot a wee bit. Turning off turn 1, you're going to be looking for this black sign on the left hand side. It's one of Guide Coke Xfinity Cup Series. As soon as you get to the end of it right there, that's when you hit the brakes and brake as hard as you can to get the car slowed up. Now you could probably go a wee bit deeper in qualifying, but I find that's a good marker for race because it's probably a little too early at the start of a run, but at the end of the run it's bang on, so I tend to like to keep that same rhythm going. Now on the back straight, we are looking for this blue emu sign. Now you're going to want to go just slightly past it for your braking point, about here, and just again brake as deep as you can and carry as much mid-corner speed as possible. Now I'm going to show you the diamonding technique. So we'll do a quick lap around here and I'll have an explanation. Now looking for that black sign. Now you want to enter the corner about a lane up and wait till the car rotates and get the car to apex the corner on exit. I didn't do a very good job that time, but hopefully I'll get this one a bit better. There we go, it's a bit more like it. Now the advantage of this technique is that it looks after the rear tyres a bit more. You're not trying to turn too tight when you're getting back to the throttle. You can get back to on the accelerator earlier and with less steering lock on board, so you tend not to burn up the tyres. Disadvantage is it opens you up to being attacked, opens you up, including the AI, not just human players, but the AI like to shove their nose in there, and by using this technique it invites them to dive in there. So that's the disadvantage. Now I'm going to show you the more traditional Martinsville line, and then talk about its advantages and disadvantages. Anyway, looking for that black sign. You want to get tucked in nice and tight, just hug this curb the whole way around. Get on the power as early as possible. That was probably a bit high on the entry there, but that's a basic idea of what you're trying to achieve.
Keep it up. That was your best lap ever.
Now, the advantage this has is it obviously It stops you from being attacked going into the corner. Stops people diving up your inside, getting their nose in there, which can lead to you getting turned around. That's either AI or human players.
Wow, that's fast.
The disadvantage it has is because you're turning it. I'm turning a lot tighter on exit. Car tends to break into wheel spin a lot easier, so you tend to burn up the rear tyres. So it doesn't help aid you over the long run.
That was a great lap.
Certainly, it's preferable probably to do a mix of these two techniques during the race. When you've got clear air, no one directly behind you, certainly doing this diamonding technique is going to give you an advantage. Also, if you're right behind somebody, this diamonding technique tends to allow you to carry more speed down the straight, which may get you up the inside going into the corner. And then if you're in traffic, I always recommend the traditional Martinsville line, that hugging the inside, just for that reason that it doesn't allow people to dive up the inside. The only thing you have to be very careful of is being very gentle on the throttle, not just to stand on the accelerator coming out of the corners. Now, as for the race setup, there's a few changes I made from the qualifying. Too many to probably list here, so just make sure you use the qualifying setup for quali and the race setup for race, otherwise you're going to be having a bad time in both. Biggest thing that I've done in this setup is I've basically made it tighter, a lot tighter, made it use the front wheel tyres up a bit more than it would with the qualifying setup. Now, moving on to the race itself, the biggest thing to bear in mind with this setup and just racing on this track in general is patience. You are not going to be able to catch people and pass them instantly, and also being patient getting back to the throttle. You want to don't want to get back to the throttle when you've got a lot of steering lock on, and you want to try and avoid wheel spin at all costs. As much as you can try and look after the rear tyres with a setup, there's only so much you can do, and it comes down to the way you drive the car. So when you're getting on the throttle coming off the corner, ease into it, pretend there's an air gun to that throttle, and slowly press the accelerator down. Try and avoid wheel spin, even diamond the corner if you've got no pressure from behind, to try and straighten up the exit. You want to get on the power, you don't want to get the full throttle until you got that wheel nice and straight. And bear in mind, towards the end of the run, you're going to be struggling for rear tyres. I could set the car up to look after the rear tyres a bit more, but then you would be dog-turd at the start of a run and you'd slip backwards and you'd lose everything you've gained. And as I say, with the setup, as long as you manage the tyres okay, you will pull away from the AI on the hardest difficulty. Or at least I do anyway, and more than likely you will as well. Anyway, I hope you guys found that helpful and useful. If you did, do all that great YouTube stuff, that stuff that us YouTubers bleat on about. Hit the old like and subscribe button. I very much appreciate if you do. But what I appreciate even more, hit me up in the comments whether you found that helpful and useful, and if it improves your lap times. And more importantly, if you've got any requests for future tracks you'd like me to do a setup for, be that, and it doesn't have to be in the Cup car, it can be in the truck or the Xfinity as well. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like, subscribe, and we'll catch you for the next one. Ciao!